Hello, everyone. I am the Shinigami,
And I am the Quincy, and welcome back to our channel.
and today we're going to review Bleach Chapter 540.
Um, the Five Swords, I believe. Sword
Yeah,
chapter.
I believe it's the five swords. So, we start off this chapter, basically where we left off last chapter, where Oetsu said we have to say goodbye to Zangetsu, and just starts off with him summoning four of his assistants, or five? I lost count. Five, yeah.
I think it's five.
Five of his assistant women, people. And then uh, he just gets Ichigo's Asauchi or Asuchi, and they all start working on forging the Asuchi. So I'll start and say what I thought of this part. Um, well, I mean, I guess you kind of needed it to introduce the people to come in, but I don't think it was needed to show them beating him up and then all the laying around and whatnot. But I guess it should show the relationships they have with him. So, but yeah, not much to say about this part. What about you?
Well, just gonna say Owesu looks really damn creepy without his glasses. Um, I thought they could have gone about this part a little more seriously, in my opinion. I know Owesu's like a funny dude, but it would have been really shocking to have him take something seriously. And I thought they said this was like a reforging jutsu. Uh, It doesn't look like a jutsu to me, but it is nice that Ichigo's finally getting his sword back. So, yeah, really not much for me to say than this on this part either.
But so they work on forging Ichigo's blade, and Ichigo pretty much just talks to Etsu, who looks creepy as hell without his sunglasses and his hair pulled up. But I can't remember exactly. But Ichigo says something about um. No, wait. Oetsu says something about. Didn't you notice? No. Okay. Oetsu says about how the hollow inside of him is really the true form of his Zanpakuto. That this is like his true Zanpakuto. And that the other guy, and then he cuts off, and then we move on to the next part where he goes in. But this part, I pretty much expected this. I mean, as soon as I saw the hollow mask, I said, well, yeah, so him. But he goes on to explain about, you know, the hollow was one that Aizen made, which was a lot like I can't remember the comparison, but it just fused with Ichigo whenever it went into his mom or whatever, and it just fused with him. So, but yeah. So not much to say on this part other than I pretty much saw this part coming. What about you?
Yeah, great. Pretty much saw this coming because throughout this series, Ichigo has relied heavily on his hollow powers. So why not make that his true power? I mean, that's pretty much what he's doing. I mean, the end was solidified that for me that Ichigo's true power is Shinigami and Hollow. If that makes any sense.
Those. It makes me think back on you know, when Urahara had him down in that pit, and he severed his chain of fate, and he said to Ichigo, "There's two options." He said, "You either one, regain your Shinigami powers, or two, you become a Hollow." and then Ichigo, he went down there and he fought with it for 72 hours, I think it was. And when he emerged, he was a Shinigami with hollow powers. And I didn't go back to look and see exactly what Urohara said, but I just remember that one part where he said one or two. He didn't say one or two, or one and two. So even back then, Kubo was sort of saying, hey, well, we've always known Ichigo's different. But anyway, before I drag on. And the final part would really have to be Ichigo going into his inner world to talk with quote unquote Zangetsu. And Oetsu's talking to him. I guess he can communicate directly with Ichigo inside his inner world. And he says, Ichigo, do you know that man? And Ichigo says, yeah, that's Zangetsu. And Oetsu's like, no. Take a closer look at him based on what you've been through recently. And who do you see? And then we see that it's actually Juhabak, or by the other romanization of his name, you watch. So, and he says this is what he looked like. This is Juhabak from 1,000 years ago. And I'll let you go first on what you want to say about that part.
Well, when Juhabok first showed up, I the first thing I thought about was he looked a lot like Zangetsu. And the fact that Ichigo is a Quincy, we've known that for so long, since like episode 1 or something like that. Ever since we saw his bed first time, I kind of put two and two together, because why would Juhabok not be in contact with his quote unquote son born in darkness some way somehow? So Juhabok being old man Zangetsu from 1,000 years ago really didn't surprise me that much. It, like, I kind of saw it coming, but then I kind of didn't. I didn't want to say anything, but I saw it. I saw the resemblance, and I saw the connection. It was a very small connection, but I saw it. Just gonna say that. But yeah, it wasn't really surprising for me. It was a good ending. It was a really good ending for the chapter, but like, I'm tired. I'm sorry. I'm done.
Alright. I just want to point out a few things to anybody who is still questioning, like, well, this Quincy stuff is coming out of nowhere. If you think back to when Uryu first met Ichigo, and Ichigo was wondering how Uryu kept finding him, Uryu grabbed a red thread and said, you can identify Shinigami by this red thread that they have. And so Uryu was the only person that we'd ever seen use that power. But Ichigo later on uses it. And I think Rukia did say back then that only high-level captains could do that. But, we've never seen any of the captains do that. The only two people that we've ever seen do it are Ichigo and Uryu. Another thing was in Soul Society, whenever Ichigo fights Kenpachi, and Zangetsu says, I'll lend you my power. This is a big key. Before Ichigo fought without Zangetsu's power. And, Renji made fun of him. He's like, you don't even know the name of your Zanpakuto or whatever. And you learn that whenever he fought with Urahara. But the only two times that I remember his eyes lighting up there was 3 times in Soul Society, were 1, the fight against Renji, 2, the fight against Kenpachi whenever Zangetsu himself says, I'll lend you my power, and 3, whenever he smashes the scaffolding on the thing that Ruki was going to be executed on. And then the third thing is his Getsuga Tensho is more Reiatsu based than elemental based, like his father's. So yeah, I'm done with the trivia or whatever. Um, I like this part too, and I do think whenever I first saw Juho Bach, that I thought, oh, he kind of looks like Zangetsu, but after that, I just completely out of my mind. I just completely forgot about it. But I do think whenever I first saw him, I thought, he has some similarities to Zangetsu, but I never put two and two together. To go, oh, he is Zangetsu. Because I don't know. I'm not really good with connecting faces in Bleach, but I did like this ending a lot. I think it was really good, in my opinion. But yeah. Do you have anything else to add?
Just one thing on Ichigo's new Zanpakuto. Um, I feel like he will have a normal Zanpakuto. Um, like everyone else, have a Shikai and then a Bankai release. But I feel like his Bankai release, he will have his Hollow Mass fully active with his Bankai release. Because if the Hollow is truly his Zanpakuto, why not have his Hollow Mass on his Bankai release? I think that might throw a lot of people off. It's like, oh, he has his Hollow Mass, and he didn't even put it on. Well, it's a part of his Bankai now. So, or something like that, pretty much.
I think that could be like in the Hell movie. It wasn't really canon, but whenever he went into Hell, like he had no control of his Hollow Mask. It could be something like that with his Bankai. I think he'll be able to move it easier because really after his training with the Vizards, the only time his Hollow Mask has ever come off that I remember was whenever it was smashed off. I don't remember him being able to move his Hollow Mask to the side, much like the Vizards could during their training. I mean, he did before that, but after. But yeah, I'm really curious to see what is going to become of Ichigo's Zanpakuto. But I have a feeling next week's mostly going to be, another talking chapter, and this one's going to be between Ichigo and old Jihobak. So yeah.
Yeah, like, come on, Kubo. We want Renji, we want Byakuya, we want Ruchi. I mean, not Rukia. I'm sorry, guys, I'm so tired. We want to see them. Come on.
Yeah.
It feels like it's been years since we've seen them.
Yeah, they need more screen time. But should we do the basic fact?
Yeah, I think we should.
It doesn't sound very convincing. But,
Still waking up.
yeah. What did you think of badassness for this chapter?
That was a really badass. I mean, about a 3 or a 4.
Yeah. I'd have to say about a 1 or 2 for badassness. Attention level, how much attention were you paying?
About a 5.
Because you woke up.
Yeah.
I actually did pay attention. I caught up with a lot of it, so I'd have to bet a 7. Satisfactory. How satisfying was this chapter?
About a 5.
Yeah. It wasn't too good for the beginning parts, but the ending for me was pretty good. So I'd have to say about 6 or 7. Interest level. How interesting was the chapter?
Well, pretty much the only thing that was interesting was the end. So it jumped from a 4 to a 7.
It was sort of like a fact thing. You learned some facts, you know. I'd have to say it was about a 6 overall. And comedy. How comedic was it?
Well, the stuff with Doetsu was pretty funny.
Yeah.
So, about a 6 or a 7 on that.
Yeah. I'd have to say about the same. It was probably about a 5.5 or a 6 for comedy. And, Ichigo kept making stupid faces the whole time.
And confused faces.
Huh?
And his confused faces.
Yeah,
And
confused.
surprised faces.
confused, surprised, stupid. These are sick. I don't know. What else is it? Fan service. What was the fan service?
Well, there was like zero fan service in this chapter.
Well, there was some with the girls, but it was very, very minimal. So, but for Bleach, it was actually a lot compared to other animes.
Yeah.
But what would you rate it?
About a 2.
Yeah. I'd rate it about a 2 as well, 2.5. Animation, how well drawn was this chapter?
There's spots where it could have been drawn better. It was nice seeing Ichigo's inner world, and his inner world was drawn fairly well, so
Yeah.
I'd give it about a 5 or 6.
Yeah. I liked how he did Zangetsu, or how should I just say old Johobok. So I'd have to give it about 6. Yeah. Kubo seems to more so focus on the characters rather than the background. And predictability. How predictable was this chapter?
Well, in our Big 4 chapter prediction video, we didn't predict any of this.
Nope.
This chapter really wasn't predictable at all.
Yeah, it wasn't. I'd have to say it was about a 2. Or maybe a 3.5. But, and rating out of 5 stars.
2.5.
Yeah, I'd say about 2.5 or 3. It was a good ending. The ending's probably what won it most of the stars, but everything else was just sort of unneeded. So yeah. Anything else to add?
I just hope we get through this Ichigo stuff pretty quickly.
Yeah.
Because I feel Renji's like one palace ahead of him.
Yeah. I definitely feel he's at the next palace already.
Which means Rukia and Byakuya are one palace behind him.
Yeah. I wonder if Ikaku will be joining them. Didn't they say something about his broke? His Bankai broke?
Yeah. His Bankai did break.
I wonder if he'll be joining them then. I don't know. But if you don't have anything else to add, I think that's about it. Huh.
It makes me wonder, what will Byakuya do with the Ashuichi?
The Asuichi?
Yeah. It just makes me wonder what Kubo has in store for him at the West's Palace.
I don't know. Ichigo, his case seemed to be, he found his Asuichi right away. Renji seemed to struggle with it more. I mean, he knew what he was. He's obviously a Shinigami. But, he has to search through all of them. I think Byakuya would be the same result. Like, Renji had to fight them. I think Byakuya will do the same, and so will Rukia. Since, they're already decided. Maybe, if anything, Rukia would find hers relatively quickly, and Byakuya would have to search for his. I don't know. But yeah, I do hope we get some information next week on what's happening with everybody else.
But would that mean that... Because we all know Zemo Zakura was taken away. I just want to know what Uetu has in store for Byakuya.
Yeah.
That's the only thing I'm curious about now.
Well, you have anything else to add?
I do not.
Okay. I don't either. Links are in the description. Remember to like this video and follow us on Twitter, like us on Facebook. Greatly appreciate all of it. And I am the Shinigami.
And I am the Quincy.
And I'm signing off.
Adios, otakus.
Jana.